You made it. That's far enough for tonight. Come, come, sit with me here, by the roots. The path behind you can wait. The things you left undone can wait as well. For now, there's only this clearing, these tall, quiet trunks, and the soft blue glow above us. Set yourself down, nice and easy. Yes, right there, just there. Feel the ground under you, cool, steady, wide enough to hold everything you brought with you today. You don't have to carry any of it alone for a while. The forest is very good at holding things. If your shoulders are tight, let them sink a little. If your jaw is clenched, let it loosen. If your hands feel restless, you can let them rest on your chest, or at your sides, palms open to the air. There. Now. Let's breathe. You don't have to try very hard. Just notice the air moving, in and out. Slowly in through the nose, and let it slip out again, softer than before. As you breathe, listen. Hear how the forest sounds tonight. No loud creatures, no harsh wind, just a low, distant hush like someone whispering a lullaby in another room. Above us, the lantern pods are glowing. You can see them, can't you? Hanging from the branches in gentle clusters, each one a small pale moon swaying just enough to prove the world hasn't stopped turning. Every now and then, a firefly drifts into the light, catching a piece of it and carrying it away in a tiny spark of gold. They appear without ceremony. No sound, no sudden flash. Just there, and then gone, like thoughts passing through a quiet mind. If you like, you can lean back against this big root here. It's firm, but not unkind. You can imagine its weight pressing into your back, reminding your body that something ancient and solid is supporting you. Take another breath, in and out. Longer on the way out this time. Let the exhale be like a slow release valve, letting the pressure of the day leak out in small, harmless streams. Good. You're safe here. The path will still be there in the morning when you've slept, and the lanterns will remember that you came to rest under them. You know, these trees haven't always been trees. That light above us, the one that makes the bark glow at the edges, the one that makes the mist shine like a thin layer of stars on the forest floor. It has traveled a very long way to be here. Longer than any road you've walked. Longer than any flight you've taken. Longer than any life you've lived. There was a time when all that light belonged to a single wandering star. Would you like to hear about it while you rest? You don't have to answer. If your eyes are already heavy, just let them close. The story can pour over you like the lantern light itself. We'll let it begin. Long before these trees grew, before their roots ever touched this soil, the sky above us was emptier than it is now. Not of stars, there were plenty of those, as there always have been, but of stories. Most stars are predictable things. They burn where they were born, held in place by invisible pulls and pushes, turning slowly in their great circles, never straying far from the paths drawn for them by the universe. Most stars live and die in the same small patch of sky. But this one was different. It did not belong to any constellation, did not anchor any system of worlds, did not have a family of planets spinning politely around it. It had, instead, a habit of moving. It was a traveler. It slid through the dark like a lantern carried by an unseen hand. A soft, steady light drifting across the vastness without destination. Sometimes it traveled for reasons no one could name. Curiosity, perhaps, or maybe just because it could. It passed between clusters of distant suns, brushed the edges of great nebulae that glowed in colors beyond language, and wove its way through fields of ice and dust that circled larger, noisier stars like shining debris. For a very long time, this wandering felt like enough. The star watched lightning crawl through the atmospheres of gas giants like luminous veins. It watched comets pull long silver scars across the dark. It watched small moons cast shadows on the faces of planets painted in blue and green. It never stayed in any one place for long. Always drifting, always moving on to the next quiet marvel. Breathe in and out. Feel the way your breath moves in your chest, a smaller echo of that star's slow motion. One night, though night means little in the places it drifted, the star slid past a world made almost entirely of glass. Imagine that for a moment. An entire planet where the ground was one vast plateau of translucent crystal, vaulted, cracked, carved by ancient pressures, but smooth enough in most places to reflect a sky 360 degrees wide. As the star passed, its light struck the planet's surface and split. Color flared across the plateau. Blue, green, violet, thin lines of gold that raced outwards like rivers of dawn. The star slowed, just a little, watching the way its own glow broke apart and scattered. For the first time in a very long while, it considered staying. But the world was empty. Nothing moved across the glass but wind. No oceans, no forests, no sleeping creatures turning over in their dreams. It was beautiful, yes, extraordinarily so. But it did not feel like a place to rest. And so the star moved on. You might know that feeling, seeing something lovely that still isn't home, in and out. It traveled next through the crown of a storm. There was a gas giant somewhere, so large that dozens of worlds like the one we're on now could have fit inside it. Around its equator, storms coiled like enormous bracelets, bands of cloud and lightning wrapped tight around its girth. The star dipped close to the upper edge of one such storm. Curious. Lightning leapt to greet it, not touching, not quite reaching, but playing at the borders of its light. Clouds churned and boiled in slow, massive spirals, the kind of motion you only see when time stretches out far past a human sense of patience. The star stayed there longer than it had at the glass world. It watched entire tempests rise and fall, watched new ones bloom from the wreckage of the old. Yet the noise, if you can call it that, the constant agitation of cloud and charge, was not what it wanted. If a star can be overwhelmed, this one was. After a time, it drifted away, leaving the roaring planet to whirl without it. Out here, under these trees, we have storms too, but not tonight. Tonight is for quiet. The wandering star moved on. It crossed regions where there were hardly any suns at all, just a thin mist of particles glowing faintly with the echo of ancient fires. It slid through them like a slow ship, its light passing through clouds of dust that glittered for a moment and then faded back into darkness. In its long journey, it came upon a world of water, a sleeping ocean planet, turning on its axis with such gentle regularity that its days and nights passed like the breathing of a giant animal. There was no land there, not anymore. Perhaps there had been once. Ridges of stone, islands, mountain ranges. But time and tide had ground them down into a single, unbroken sea. The star hovered above the dark side of this world, where the ocean lay like a sheet of midnight glass. It could see itself in that surface, a lonely point of light floating over an enormous eye, staring up without blinking. Here, at least, it felt something familiar. Stillness. No storms raging, no towering cities, no rings of ice singing silently around a massive body. Just water, and the slow turn of a planet that had long ago accepted its fate. The star lowered itself until its light just skimmed the tops of the waves. Soft ripples spread outward, distorting its reflection into long, gentle lines. If a star can sigh, this one did. It stayed there for 3 full rotations of the water world, long enough to see its own glimmer crest the horizon, disappear and rise again. But even in that calm, there was nowhere to sink, nothing to hold it, no earth to take its weight, no forest to close around it and say, "Here, you may lie down here." So, with one last look at its wavering reflection, the star lifted away. As you listen, you might feel a little of that same ache, the wish for something steady to lean against. It's all right. You found a forest. You found a root. You found a patch of cool ground that's perfectly willing to hold you up. Take another breath, in and out. Let it be a fraction slower. Ages passed. How many, no one could say. The star crossed a field of ancient ruins, not of stone, but of light. Once, long before, there had been a cluster of stars here, a whole crowded neighborhood of suns burning close together, their gravity and radiance pulling at one another in a complicated dance. Now, only remnants remained, long threads of plasma, looping arcs of energy frozen in the act of falling apart. The star drifted through them, weaving its way between the relics of explosions and collapses. It thought, if stars can think, of what it meant to endure, to burn long or to burn bright, to live in one place or 1,000. It wondered if any of the other stars had ever grown tired too. Its light, by now, had softened. Not dim, exactly. Just gentler. Less insistent. There was a kind of grace in it, like the way an elder's hands can be worn and yet still steady. Through all of this, no one asked the star to keep going. No voice called from the dark to tell it it must never stop. The pressure came from nowhere but itself. You might understand that, lying here. The feeling that rest must be earned, that stillness must be justified. The star believed that too, for a long time, longer than anyone should have to. At last, after so many wanderings that they blurred together into one long stretch of motion, the star approached a small, quiet world. You're lying on it now. From far away, it was nothing special. A pale point of color among countless others. But as the star came closer, it felt something shift. The light of this world was gentle. No roaring auroras, no wild storms, no gigantic rings spanning the sky. Just a patient swirl of clouds, oceans turning underneath, and, on one side, a continent shaded in deep blues and greens. The star descended further, drawn by a pull it had never felt before. Not gravity, something quieter, as if the planet itself were offering a place to stop. It parted the upper clouds slowly, not wanting to startle the world below. As it pushed through, it saw mountains and rivers and wide stretches of forest. Among them, nestled in a valley like the palm of a great hand, was a patch of darkness darker than the rest. Not the darkness of absence, but the darkness of shelter, a deep, shaded fold, thick with trees. The star felt invited. It had seen beauty before. It had seen wonders. It had seen far grander sights than this humble valley, on worlds whose names no tongue here could even attempt. But nothing had ever called to its weariness like this little pocket of night. So it lowered itself, slowly, through the atmosphere, leaving a trail of soft light behind it. If someone had been watching then, from the ground, they would have seen a gentle blue fire drifting down between the clouds. No thunder, no blazing streak, just the steady approach of a tired star finally choosing a destination. The sky above this valley brightened for the first time in a century of nights. Branches that had only ever known starlight from a distance found themselves bathed in a closer glow. The star slipped between them, careful not to scorch a single leaf. It descended until it was only a little higher than the tallest trunk, and there it paused. Below it, the ground lay open, a soft, uneven floor of soil and roots and stones, damp from a recent rain. It was not smooth, it was not perfect, but it was enough. The star realized something simple and profound. Stopping was not a failure of its journey. Stopping was the point. It had wandered long enough. If you're still awake, you might feel that line land somewhere inside you. You have wandered long enough for today. The star let itself fall the last small distance. It met the ground with no explosion, no shock wave, just a gentle touch. The earth accepted its weight with the quiet of someone taking a sleeping child into their arms. For a moment, the valley was full of light. Every stone, every leaf, every droplet of water shone as if lit from within. Then, gradually, the light began to sink. Not fade. Sink. It seeped down through the soil, coiling around roots, filling small pockets of empty space, warming seeds that had waited for who knows how long. The star loosened its hold on being a star at all. Piece by piece, its light traded shape. It stopped being a single, self-contained thing, and became instead 1,000 tiny promises scattered in the dark. Time passed. Rain fell and soaked through the warmed earth. Seasons turned, each one leaving its own thin layer of memory on top of where the star had rested. And then, because that's what life does when it's given light and time, things began to grow. From the deepest places where the star's glow had sunk, shoots emerged. They were pale at first, almost colorless, thin threads pushing their way up through the soil. They sought the surface, urged on by a warmth that came not from above, but from below, from the remnants of that wandering star. When they broke through into the cool air, they did not stop. They thickened, darkened, their bark smoothed into surfaces that caught the moonlight like river stone. Their branches reached outward, not in frantic grasping, but in wide, steady arcs like arms held open. At the ends of those branches, buds formed, round, heavy shapes that pulsed softly with the memory of distant skies. On the first night, one of those buds opened. The forest changed. The outer skin of the pod parted with a sound so quiet that only the nearest insects paid it any mind. From inside came a silver-blue glow, soft as breath. One by one, the other pods followed. Soon the whole grove was full of hanging lanterns, each one holding a piece of the star's long journey, each one content to stay in one place and shine. These are the trees we sit beneath now, the Lantern Trees of Orialis. Their light has traveled a longer road than any traveler who has ever slept at their roots, and it chose, at last, to rest here, just as you have. You're doing well. If you notice your thoughts wandering, it's all right. They're only following the last echoes of the star's path. You don't have to chase them. You can let them go on without you. The body you're in now is allowed to stay put. Breathe in and out. Let your exhale be a little heavier this time, as if you're handing a bit more of your weight to the ground. Feel how the soil doesn't argue. It doesn't ask for proof or explanation. It simply holds. Travelers began to find this place after the lantern trees grew. Some came by accident, stumbling through the dark when their own paths had gone on too long. Others followed rumors, whispers of a valley where the night itself seemed to glow with a friendly light. They arrived with sore feet, tight shoulders, eyes that burned from staring too far ahead. Much like you. The first time each of them lay down beneath these branches, they felt something quietly shift inside. It wasn't sudden happiness. It wasn't some grand revelation. It was simpler than that. It was the feeling that, for the first time in a very long time, they did not have to be anywhere else. No one needed them. Nothing urgent was clawing for their attention. The trees, born from a star that had finally surrendered to rest, seemed to murmur the same message over and over. You are allowed to stop now. You are allowed to rest. You do not have to go any further tonight. The travelers listened. Their breathing slowed. Their muscles uncurled. Their thoughts, which had been running like wild horses, began to wander more softly, like deer at the edges of a clearing. One by one, they fell asleep. Some woke before dawn and moved on. Others slept long into the morning, unbothered by the pale daylight filtering through the pods. All of them left carrying something they hadn't arrived with, the memory of what it feels like to be fully permitted to rest. Tonight, the forest offers the same thing to you. Look up for a moment, if your eyes are still open. See how the lanterns hang against the sky, how their light makes a slow, breathing halo around each branch. Watch how the fireflies wander through them, appearing and disappearing like thoughts you've already forgotten. If your eyes are closed, you can imagine it instead. The blue glow, soft and even. The tiny golden flecks moving lazily through the air. The darkness between the trees is not empty. It's full of quiet. Let that quiet reach into you. Breathe in. And as you breathe out, let your weight sink a little deeper into the earth. There is nothing here that needs fixing. Nothing here that needs proving. The star did not have to justify its decision to stop. It had wandered long enough. So have you, at least for today. If sleep is near, you can let my words blur. You don't have to follow every line. You can drift in and out, like a firefly passing through beams of light. The story will keep moving without demanding you come with it. You are not late to anything. You are not missing anything by resting. This valley, these trees, this patch of ground, they'll all still be here after your dreams. The lanterns will be waiting with the same soft shine. The stars' old light will still be threaded through their veins. Nothing important will disappear while you sleep, so you can let go, bit by bit, breath by breath, in and out. You are lying in a forest lit by a star that chose peace over endless motion. You are breathing in a world that has already accepted you. You are part of this night now. Let the last pieces of your wakefulness unhook themselves and fall away, like the final embers of a wandering star sinking into friendly soil. The trees will keep watch. The earth will hold you. The sky will remain exactly where it is. You can rest. You are allowed to rest. Good night, traveler. Sleep well under the lantern trees of Orialis.